Good evening. Good evening, Melbourne. Yeah. Good evening, Victoria. Used to be the greatest state. Maybe it's not anymore, but we're working on making it great again. Can I have your attention, please? Absolutely at your own pace, though. I know some of you have not seen an entree in hours. Can I have your attention, please? Look, you've got to remember, I know where you all live. It's going to be a long night because I can't start until we do focus on me welcoming you here. So really, if I could get your attention, that would be marvellous. And I do appreciate those that are shushing the crowd because it's always poor form when the MC does. I think the tables over here on the right are the prime offenders. Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Rabbis, Rebbitzins, parliamentarians, just great people. I am so delighted to be here this evening. I'm delighted and shocked at the same time. I'm delighted to be here because my involvement within the Jewish community runs deep. I have the great pleasure and privilege of going to so many different functions for so many different organisations with all levels of religiosity. I look at this as the pinnacle of my achievement. And I say that, yeah. I used to think selling a house for $15 million, $20 million in Howard Road was an achievement. But when Saul Spigler and his organising committee rang me and said, would I be the MC for tonight? I can tell you categorically, I've done some incredible things in my life. I've had some crazy opportunities. I've had some crazy adventures. But for a boy from Cootamundra in New South Wales, and I hope that one of the tables is labelled Cootamundra, but for a boy from Cootamundra who, at the age of 11, had to start catching a 9-hour train from Cootamundra to Melbourne on multiple occasions so I could get bar mitzvah lessons, for a boy from Cootamundra who grew up always knowing he was Jewish, always observing Friday night, but for me to be here tonight, to be asked to MC this very important evening at this incredibly critical time in the world, this for me categorically is one of the greatest achievements of my life. So I want to thank you for the privilege. At the same time as thanking you for the privilege, I'd just like to say to you that whilst I was born a Jew, whilst my parents always made sure that we knew we were Jewish, I was Jewish in Cootamundra in New South Wales. The population of Cootamundra was 7,000. There were 6,995 non-Jewish people. There were 5 Jewish people. Pauline and David are my parents. Sarah and Judith are my sisters. I went to the local primary school. I then went on to the local high school. And at the local high school at lunchtime, keeping in mind this was the 1970s, but the sport at lunchtime at Cootamundra High School was for the kids to go to the canteen, pay for it in cash, good old-fashioned cash. They would get their change, which was 5 cents, 2 cents, 1 cent pieces. They would roll those coins down the quadrangle and shout, "Jew jump, Jew jump, Jew jump," of which all of the kids would run after the money. So that's the way I grew up, in a town where my parents were farmers. They were sheep, wheat and cattle farmers. In 1977, my father got a phone call from his stock and station agent, and for what that means is that a stock and station agent is a real estate agent for sheep and cattle. And this man was one of the greatest Australians I've ever known. He was pure, he was honest, he was decent-hearted, and had never met another Jew other than my father. On a summer afternoon, we got a call, my father got a call from Don Hayne, who had the most Australian accent, and Don Hayne said to my father, "David," he didn't say it like that, he said, "G'day, David." He said, "There's some Jewy men in my office." And my father is thinking to himself, what is this man talking about? And Dad said to Don, "What are you talking about, Don?" "You know, Jewy blokes, not like you, they've got them Jewy hats on." So my father still has got no idea what Don Hayne has said, but basically Don has said, these guys know that the Kingstons live in Cootamundra, they want to come and see you. 1977, they get the directions to our farm. We live about 10 kilometres out of town. We have a long, winding dirt road driveway. Down comes the van. Now, I've just watched most of you park in the car park. There is a comedy series about you guys parking in the car park tonight. The van comes down our road. These guys are the worst drivers on the planet. We have this beautiful driveway with this sense of entrance. They misjudge that. They knock over the driveway entrance. They arrive at our house. Thankfully, it took them half an hour to get there, which gave my father time to check to see there was a mezuzah on the door. Anyway, they come in, they find the Jewish family. We have a lovely chat. They realise that we do know we're Jews. They've done their work. My father says to them, "Are you right to get back?" And of course, in true mitzvah mobile manner, they say, "Look, we haven't got any." Because we're farmers, we have a petrol Bowser. We fill up the van. Now, let me tell you, that van takes a lot of petrol. They drive off into the dusty sunset, and my father, who's just given them, I don't know, in real terms, a couple of $100 worth of petrol, my father looks at me, the 11-year-old boy, and he says, "So who's saving who here?" So, bizarrely, all of these years later, here I am, having had this journey from getting into fights at Cootamundra Primary and Cootamundra High School for always defending that I was a Jew and I was proud, but having had no Jewish education, I didn't really know. I met my partner, Gary Peer, at a Jewish youth movement camp, and all of these years later, I have, by sheer luck and a lot of hard work, woven my life into the very rich fabric of our incredible Melbourne Jewish community. So, thank you for inviting me. I would like to just say thank you to the parliamentarians that are here this evening, both Josh and David are friends of mine. I've just had the pleasure of meeting Dan Tehan, who is a country bloke, and you can feel his countryness in him when you shake his hand. Michelle Ananda Raja is my local member who I've met on occasions and who I can say has got the heart and spirit for the Jewish community. So I want to thank them. They're on our table. Regardless of your politics, they have an incredibly hard job. But I want to say to everybody in this room, I learnt to fight. I was taught to box, and I learnt to fight because my father realised I was never going to walk away from a fight when somebody said to me, I am a dirty Jew. And that happened regularly. I learnt to fight. I learnt to love to fight. And I learnt to understand that when you learn how to fight, when you take a punch to the head, if you know what you're doing, it actually doesn't hurt. It actually invigorates you. So I say to everybody in the room, regardless of what's going on, this is a difficult time, but over the millennium, we've been here so many times before. I say this, if they want to fight, bring it on. And if they want to fight, we do what we do best. And for those people in this room who have a religiosity and an understanding of our faith far greater than mine, is you keep praying, I'll keep working, I'll keep donating. I want this community to be the strongest community it can possibly be, and no one is going to defeat us. So, before I ask, who am I asking to come up to introduce the rabbis? Thank you. Before I ask you to come up, I just want to say I don't have much understanding of our faith in terms of being able to daven, but there are people like me that identify so strongly that appreciate what you all do that I can't. So thank you tonight. And I'll ask you to come up to introduce the rabbis.
Thank you. Thank you on behalf of the Spigler family. Thank you to Philip. Welcome to the politicians, and thank you everyone for coming tonight. I will say that it is also a great honor of mine to be some part of introducing some of the people tonight. I think it was mainly due to the fact that I came from America. My dad wanted his money's worth, so he said, you got to get up there and talk. Tonight is the yahrzeit of the Mittler Rebbe, the second Chabad Rebbe. There's a famous story. In the middle of the night, one of the Mittler Rebbe's children started to cry. And he was in the middle of learning something at the time. He was so engrossed in his learning that he kind of ignored the fact that his child was crying. The Alter Rebbe got up and he went through to the room and he helped get the child back to sleep. He turned to the Mittler Rebbe afterwards and he said, no matter how deeply you are engrossed in your learning, no matter how deeply you are engrossed in your thoughts, if you hear a child crying, you got to get up, you got to stop whatever you're doing, and you got to go take care of him. I think the story reflects perfectly what a Chabad of RARA stands for. We hear the cries of the Jews all around Australia that are calling out for connection, that are isolated and feel like no one is there with them, especially with everything that's going on around the world today. But I can tell you for a fact, being part of it, Chabad of RARA is there, Chabad of RARA hears you, and Chabad of RARA hears your cries. It's my great honor. There is no four better people to call up to be able to recite some Tehillim and a Mishaberach than the four people that together with their wives, together with their families. They give up so much to live isolated, to be part of the communities that Philip talked about all around Australia. And they give up learning, going to Jewish day schools, putting milk in their freezer, putting meat in their freezer, just being able to get by day. We're going to start with Rebbe's kapitel, and I'd like to call out Rabbi Ari Rubin, the shliach, to the most remote Chabad house in Australia, Chabad of Far North Queensland, which was established in March of 2016 and is now home to over 200 active families. Ari Rubin.
Shir Amalei Selecha Nasasi is Eini Yeshiv Hashemayim. Hine Cheine Avodim El Yad Adeneim. Keine Shivcha El Yad Gevirta. Keine Neinu El Adenei Leheinu Ad Sheichanenu. Chanenu Adenei Chanenu Ki Rav Savaynu Vuz. Rabba Savalon Nafshenu Halag Hashananum Habuz Legeyenu.
Thank you, Ari. The next kapitel, I would like to call out Rabbi Menachem Aaron, the director of Chabad of RARA. Basing himself out of Melbourne, but spends more time on the road, meeting Jews in all different parts of Australia, doing Shabbatons, going for day trips, whatever it takes. Menachem Aaron.
Thank you everyone for joining us this evening. I'm very excited to be here. Hope you are as well. Shir Lamalois Esa Einay Lehardi Me'ain Yavi Ezri. Ezri Me'im Adonai Oisi Shemaim Ba'aretz. Al Yitain Lamoit Raglecha Ayanum Shemrecha. Hine Leonim La Yishan Shemer Yisrael. Adonai Shemrecha Adonai Tzilcha Yad Yimenecha. Yom Hashemesh Loyak Heka V'Yereach V'Layla. Adonai Yishmerecha Mikara Yishmeres Nafshecha. Adonai Yishmer Tzizcha V'Yecha Me'ata V'Yad Olam.
The third shliach is the shliach to Chabad of Sunshine Coast, Rabbi Oshi Goodman, who started in 2022, but Sunshine Coast was established in 2018 and is now the fastest growing regional Jewish center in Australia. No pressure to the other shluchim though.
Shir Amales, Mimamakim Kurasicha Adonai, Adonai Shima Bakoili, Tiena, Znacha Kashuva, Islakol Tachanunai, Ima Voinos Tishmaria, Adonai Miamed, Kiyimchala, Hatzlicha, Laman Tavare, Kavisi Adonai Kivsa Nafshi, Velidvare Hecholti, Nafshi Adonai Meshemrim Labaker, Shemrim Labaker, Yachel Yisrael Adonai, Kiyim Adonai Achesed, Vaharba Ime Fidus, Uhu Yifte Es Yisrael Makola Vainesa. Thank you.
And lastly, I'd like to call on Rabbi Yossi Rodel from Chabad of the Hunter Valley. Established in June 2020. Yossi started with us running Chabad of RARA out of Melbourne in 2014. And a little bit of Yossi and Malki are the first rabbi in Rebbetzin in the shul in Newcastle in over 50 years. And they're doing a great job. Yossi Rodel. I'd like to ask everyone to stand for a second. Yossi will be saying Misha Beirach for our brothers and sisters in Israel, especially at this time with everything going on.
Misha Beirach Aviseinu Abraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Hu Yivorech Es Chayolei Tzva Hagana LiYisrael v'Anshrei Koches HaBitachon
ואת כל אחינו בני ישראל הנעדרים והנסונים בצרו ובשביה. בעבור שלנו מספללים ונוידרים לצדקה בעבורם, בשחר הקדוש ברוך הוא ישמרם ויצילם מכל צרו וצוקו, מכל נגו מחלו, וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיהם, עם כל ישראל אחיהם, ונאמר אמן.
Thank you. Again, if I can get your attention, would be lovely. Remember, I was taught to box. I'd like to welcome Josh Burns, federal member for McNamara. No. Let me be very clear. Let me be very clear, please. Can I have some, please? This is a tough gig at the moment to be a Labor Party politician. I get that. I can say here, and I can stand here and say I've known Josh Burns for many, many years, and I know him to be an outstanding individual. Not only is he an outstanding individual, but as he is a voice that we can communicate with, we should give him as much respect as you can. And I can say, as I know him personally, he has a very, very tough gig, and I know that his heart is within this room. So please welcome Josh Burns.
I can appreciate, friends, that this has been a difficult time. And I know that people are hurting. And I want to say sorry. It should never have gotten to the point that we are today. But I'm here. I know where I came from. I know the community I belong to. I know the community that raised me. And that will never change. And I'm proud to be here at Chabad of RARA tonight. I want to say a couple of things, and then I'm going to not speak for too long, because no one in the history of politics has ever complained that a politician spoke for too short, so I'm not going to go on tonight. I want to recognise my parliamentary colleagues. Dan Tehan, my federal parliamentary colleague, is a very good golfer and also a very good man, and I'm pleased to see you here tonight. Thanks for supporting the community, Dan. To Michelle, the member for Higgins. Michelle travelled with me in December last year to Israel, to Kfar Aza, to the south, to Sderot. Michelle spoke to victims of the October 7 attack. She spoke to survivors of the Nova Music Festival. I called her once saying, we're going to Israel, would you like to come? And she said yes straight away. Michelle has been a steadfast voice inside the party for our community and for Israel, and I want to thank her for all of her efforts as the member for Higgins. And I also want to make a very special mention to David Southwick. You know, David Southwick has been, David Southwick has been in the middle of this as much as I have. And David Southwick has been a relentless and tireless and strong and fierce voice for the Jewish community. David loves this community. He does. And I know that he and I might be on different political parties, but David is a mensch. I'm proud to work with him every day for our community, and I'll continue to do so, mate. So well done. Friends, it's never been a more important time to bring Judaism to Jewish people right around the country. And today I was actually at Adas, and a young Chabad boy came up to me and said, do you want to put on tefillin? And it was, you may have seen on the TV, it was a bit of a crazy period. He followed me to the president's house down the road and made sure I put on tefillin. Yeah, was he your son? Okay. That's a committed bocher right there. But he you know, it can be a tough gig, Philip's right. But it made me feel valued, it made me feel connected to Judaism, and I was very pleased to lay tefillin, and I'm sorry I couldn't do it at the time, but It's never been a more important time for Chabad RARA and for the work that you do to bring Judaism to all corners of our country, and I commend you and I thank you and I wish you only b'chatzah for the next 25 years. And the last thing I'm going to say tonight, friends, is this. The terror attack that happened to our brothers at Adass and our sisters at Adass, that should never have happened. But I've been amazed at the leadership of that community, the grace, the warmth, the true essence of what it is to be a Jew. The kindness of those leaders of those communities is something that I will never forget. In the face of the most darkest adversity in our country, they have shown the way. They are proud Jews, they are proud Australians, and they are proud people. The first announcement we made today was around $250,000. We're going to replace the Torahs and make sure they're repaired for the Adass community. And we won't stop until that synagogue is rebuilt and thriving and stronger than ever, because this is our home, this is our country. We are proud Jews, this is our place as well. And we will always be here as proud Australians celebrating Yiddishkeit. And friends, we couldn't do that without organisations like Chabad RARA. Have a good night and thank you for having me.
All right. A couple of months ago, my brother reached out to, using his political background a little bit, reached out to a few of the members of Parliament around Australia and asked them if they could come join us tonight. One of those people wasn't 100% sure if he could make it tonight, but after what happened on Friday, he reached out to my brother. I don't know how he got his number, somewhere through the government, I assume. He reached out and he's driven over 327 kilometers tonight from his electorate of Wannon to be here tonight. What he doesn't know is that now that he's come, he's the new RARA representative to the Wannon area, which is home to over 80 Jews. So thank you. It is my esteemed honor to be able to call on the Honorable Dan Tien, who's the federal member for Wannon and the Shadow Minister of Immigration and Citizenship. Dan.
Can I just say what an honour it is to be here with you tonight. Can I recognise my parliamentary colleagues, federal and state, and thank them for everything they do. Can I for your words. As someone who grew up on a sheep and cattle farm down a 5-mile dirty driveway with a petrol bowser, there have been many people that we've done a very similar thing to, help them fill their tank up and make sure they get home safely. But what living in a country community taught me above anything else was that you had to look after your community, that you left no one behind, that you had to make sure that you could defend for yourself. And can I say, what the Jewish community has done over the last few days and since October 7 has shown that sense of community in spades. As a matter of fact, can I say, it has been absolutely inspiring, because the more that's been thrown at you, the more you have come together, the more you have gelled, and the more you have showed your resilience. And can I say that as someone who has watched and observed
you should have immense pride in what you have done. You should be incredibly proud, and please know that we are with you the whole way. And can I inspiration? And can I half hours to be here tonight?
You ladies and gentlemen, that as difficult as the times might be, there are many Australians like Dan Tehan that feel exactly the same way. So thank you, Dan. Remarkably and unfortunately, my friend David Southwick won't be speaking tonight, but he is over here on this table. And I just want to say thank you to David Southwick. I know Josh Burns was good enough to do it as well, but I know I go to 5 functions a week, and I always see David there. He is the hardest working parliamentarian in Australia. And let's make sure he gets re-elected. So I have the great pleasure to introduce, and I've completely forgotten who I'm introducing. I'm introducing Shmuly Spigler or Yossi. Yossi, where is Yossi Spigler? Here he's back here. Great pleasure to invite Yossi back up here. Thank you.
We'll get there eventually. So far, it's been a great honor to be able to introduce everyone tonight. But I think that the real reason I have a piece of paper in front of me, but I think that I've written a speech, but I will say this. The amount of work, before I get to the little speech, the amount of work that my parents put in to Chabad of RARA and have put in for the past 25 years. I will also mention the fact that I feel a bit bad because I didn't convince my brother to come tonight. He's sitting there in New York watching tonight. And after seeing the amazing turnout tonight, I kind of feel like he should have got on a plane. But anyone that knows my parents knows how much they try and continue to give back to the community. My father, Mr. Saul Spigler, throughout his life has always been dedicated to the Melbourne Jewish community in a variety of different roles, and I'm sure everyone knows, starting from Chabad student movement all the way through to RARA. He's dedicated his life to the work of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. RARA was built on the ideal that no Jew will be left behind, which is exactly how my father has run this organization from the beginning. It doesn't matter how hard it is or how far it is, RARA will travel. That person knows that we are there for them. My father has dedicated so much of his time, so much of his effort, and so much of my Yerusha to this organization. Nothing to clap for there, guys. After work meetings, Motzei Shabbos, Saturday night Malava Malkas with the returning groups or the groups going out. It doesn't matter what time and where my father wants to be there. He wants to be part of every detail. And at this point, I have to add, he wouldn't be able to do any of it without the support of my amazing mother. Who quite frankly has had to deal with him throughout all of this. She thought that when my brothers and I left the house, things would get quieter. But instead, it meant more time for RARA. So before he talks, on behalf of myself, Shimmy, Jess, Dina, Menchi, and my kids, and on behalf of all the shluchim and everyone involved of RARA, and on behalf of all the Jews throughout Australia who have built a connection with Chabad of RARA over the past 25 years. Those are the people that my dad thinks about most. Those are the people that my parents put in so much time and effort to make sure that they have some type of connection. I remember when I went out on my trip, I asked my dad, what is it that I need to know before I go out? And he said, just remember one thing. These people don't have very, very little Jewish connection. He said, you may be the only Jew or the only person they have in connection with the Jewish community for that whole year. So just sit down with them, just talk to them. And I realized that the most important thing for them is that level of connection. And without my parents and without all the people that are part of the RARA team, they wouldn't be able to have that. So I'd like at this time to call my parents, Saul and Beverly Spigler, to come up and just present them with a small token of appreciation from everyone at RARA. It's always a bit scary when my dad gets up to speak. We really don't know how long it will go for. I will tell you, myself and my brother, actually, before I get to my dad, I just want to give my brother Shimmy a big shout out because he's done a lot for this event. He's put a lot of effort into it. But anyone that knows my dad, it may be 34 pages, but the writing is very, very big, so we're all good. At this time, I'd like to call my dad to give a few words.
I need a light. Okay. Unfortunately, I have some side issues, so a bit of light couldn't hurt. Thanks, Yossi.
Just wanted a bit more airtime.
That's it. Good evening, rabbis, dignitaries, friends, and family. They're small pages, don't worry. Shimmy made sure they were very large words. I'm deeply honoured and humbled to be standing before you all tonight. To each and every one of you here, thank you for your support of our organisation and for you joining us this evening. When I first established Chabad of RARA 25 years ago, following the passing of my dear mother, Saul Spigler of blessed memory, whose 25th anniversary, her Yahrzeit, is Thursday night and Thursday night, Friday. I could never have imagined the incredible journey Beverly and I would embark on. We had a vision, but the growth of Chabad of RARA into what it is today has far exceeded what I ever dreamt of and thought was possible. Okay. My lifelong mission to connect with Jewish people in rural and regional areas of Australia began 51 years ago. When I travelled to Geelong with my close friend Avram Purcell. This was followed by the historic and first RARA-style trip 48 years ago when I was joined by my dear friends Herschel Herbst and Yossi Lobenstein. That journey marked the beginning of something that even back then I knew would grow into something extraordinary and become my life's mission. Throughout this journey, my inspiration and guidance has always come from my lifelong mentor, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson. His teachings and wisdom continue to guide me, and it is with his vision and guidance in mind that we continue our work. I was particularly guided by the Rebbe's 10-point Mivtzoim campaign in the 60s and 70s that revolutionized the international Jewish community regarding outreach work and community building. After the historic RARA trip 48 years ago, and until the formal founding of RARA 25 years ago, I intimately organised outreach work with Jewish communities in rural and regional Australia. But it was only after my mother's passing that my wife Beverly and I decided that enough was enough. We knew the time had come for a permanent Chabad house to serve the Jewish people across this vast country. And from that moment, Chabad of RARA was born. Chabad of RARA is not just about spiritual outreach. We are here to meet the emotional, physical and financial needs of our community. Over the years, we have provided support in times of crisis, whether it was during the floods in Queensland in 2010, the bushfires in Victoria and New South Wales, and of course, the COVID relief we used to send to people all over Australia. In fact, they became famous, our little RARA COVID boxes. Our mission extends far beyond the walls of a regular Chabad house, and we have so many of you here tonight to thank for partnering with us in this mission. Today we are blessed with 4 full-time shluchim and their children, each of them dedicating their lives to the Jewish people across Australia. Rabbi Menachem and Chevy Aaron, our directors, of operations in Melbourne, Rabbi Yossi and Malki Rodel, shluchim to the Hunter Valley, Rabbi Oshi and Liba Goodman, shluchim to the Sunshine Coast, and Rabbi Ari and Mushki Ruman, shluchim to Far North Queensland. I cannot thank them enough for their unwavering dedication, sacrifice, and commitment to the Jewish people of Australia. They bring so much nachas to the Rebbe through their important work, and I wish them many more years of continued success and prosperity in the shlichus. I would also like to acknowledge the over 250 groups of bochurim boys and couples that we have sent around Australia in the past 25 years. These young volunteers have travelled across the country, spending weeks at a time, usually 5 or 6 weeks, visiting isolated Jewish communities in all parts of Australia, from Carnarvon in Western Australia to Albany in Western Australia, to Whyalla in South Australia, to Mallacoota on the eastern tip of Victoria, to the whole New South Wales, and of course Cooktown, which is north of Ari, and Darwin, and of course Alice Springs. I just add that we have. I would just add that we even have found a special Jew who we tried to bring tonight. He lives in Uluru. He's an Aboriginal Jewish didgeridoo player who lives in Uluru. Unfortunately, he couldn't come. Because of the Shluchim's efforts, we are able to cover the breadth and width of Australia every single year. Chabad of RARA is truly unique in many ways. We are proud to have the largest Chabad house in the world by landmass. No one's going to beat us. It actually was Siberia, but they had got a lot of shluchim there. And importantly, are responsible for thousands of Jewish souls. But for us, every single Jewish soul is precious. We are committed to travelling so far and wide as necessary, even if it means an extra 10 or 15 hours, nearly as long as Dan said. He would come 15 hours. And of driving to reach one Jewish person, and we've done that on many, many occasions. This was always the Rebbe's directive in this regard, that one Jew is important and no Jew would be left behind. In saying this, the challenges we face as a community, especially in the wake of the horrific events of October 7th last year, are deeply concerning. Since then, we have seen an alarming rise in anti-Semitism and intolerance towards Jewish people across the globe. This has also affected our Jewish community here in Australia. To help combat this, since October 7th, we have brought 20 groups. We're talking 20 groups who are on the road for about 5 weeks at a time, of young rabbis to all corners of Australia, and sent them to all corners of Australia to speak to Jewish people, etc. And of course, the shluchim themselves have had a job the same job in this regard. In these difficult times, we are thankful for the unwavering bipartisan support at both federal and state level. This includes the esteemed politicians and friends who have joined us tonight. Josh Burns, federal member for McNamara, Dr. Michelle Amanda Rajab, federal member for Higgins, Dan Tian, federal member for Wannon, and David Southwood, deputy leader of the state opposition. Your support means the world to us, and we are truly grateful for your solidarity with the Jewish people and your support for Chabad of RARA. It would be remiss if I didn't take a moment to thank my incredible wife, Beverly. Beverly, you have always been my rock and my partner in this amazing journey we have started 25 years ago. And you also put up with all my mishigasim, so that's good. I could never have done any of this without your support. I would also like to thank my children, daughters-in-law and grandchildren, Yossi and Dina, Shimi and Jess, Menshi. Hello, Menshi, he's watching from New York. There's a live feed going out to the whole world at the moment. And our precious grandchildren, Layla, Rafi, Nava and Sarah. Your love and encouragement fuel my mission every single day. I would also like to pay tribute to our dinner committee, who organised this amazing event, Beverly, Amanda, Menachem. Anyone going to clap for Menachem? Come on. And Shimmy and Jess. They all work tirelessly to ensure tonight's event is a great success and is one that leaves you all inspired and motivated. I welcome and thank the international superstars joining us tonight, Shloime Zionce and Eitan Katz. May you continue to use your special talents to inspire so many across the globe, including your followers across RARA territories. We at Chabad of RARA thank everyone here tonight for your support and for all those that contribute to RARA's growth and success. Without you, we wouldn't be able to continue the important work we do. I'd like to especially call up Mrs. Nechama Werdiger. I'll get you to. Is there a dedication on it? Yeah, it's in there. Will you read it when I ask you? Where is she? She's the matriarch, and I assume of the Werdiger Foundation, who have supported our effort and literally helped us drive around the country for the last 25 years. That's besides other help that we've got from the foundation. And in fact, we've been able to drive and probably fly, I guess, 1.5 million kilometres in the last 25 years.
Thank you very much.
Yes. It's the other way around. Bring it the other way around.
Thank you for your help. That's the lady. Yeah. Do you want to read the dedication? No. I need a lot. What? Okay. Before I introduce a very special feature for tonight, I'd like to call up David Southwick, a good friend of the whole Jewish community, to say a few words.
Can you stay with me, please?
Oh, okay.
I wasn't going to speak because we've heard from enough politicians tonight, and it's not about the politicians, but it's about you, and it's about the whole of RARA and what you do for our community. Philip Kingston said before that we are in a fight, and what you do in terms of the two things which will overcome what we're doing at the moment and the whole RARA community are doing at the moment is firstly faith, which we need now more than ever, and the outreach that you do not just for the Jewish community across Australia, but for everybody else that you touch. Because when you reach a community, when you head out in remote Australia and they see you and they hear you and they understand you, that connects and that educates and that ensures that our community, our religion and the Jewish community will last forever and ever. Thank you for what you do and keep doing the wonderful work. Shkoya.
Thank you. Friends, we now invite you to focus your attention to the screens. There's 2 in the front and there's 4 around the room. to watch a very special video that took weeks to prepare and make by a young man, Ali Lerner. Thank you, Ali. This will showcase the incredible journey and work of the Chabad of RARA. Please enjoy.
Do you ever wonder what it takes, truly, to connect with another? What about 10,000? What journey would it take to bring that many souls together to kindle belief?
"25 years ago, my mother passed away. Her name was Rachel. She was a lady who was a Holocaust survivor. She was always involved and loved the continuity of the Jewish people. She was passionate about Jewish life and wanted to ensure the continuation of the Jewish faith. I wanted to do something meaningful in her memory, and consequently I started the organisation called Chabad of Rural and Regional Australia, affectionately known as Chabad of RARA. But my involvement and connection with the Jews of rural and regional Australia didn't start there. And let me show you where it all began.
The year was 1977. Jimmy Carter was inaugurated as the 39th President of the United States. Elvis Presley's death shook the music world.
Elvis Presley died today.
And the first Apple II personal computer hit the stores. But beyond those headlines, a quieter story of connection was about to unfold. For Jewish communities scattered across the globe, in the decades after the war, had started to rebuild in new corners of the world. Yet many remained scattered, separated by distance. In Brooklyn, New York, a spiritual leader known as the Lubavitcher Rebbe shared a powerful vision, a world where distance could not diminish the bonds of faith. A calling that echoed across the continents, seeking out hearts. Half a world away in Australia, Solly heard that call. Eager to make a difference, he enlisted his two best friends, Yossi and Herschel. Together they embarked on what seemed like an impossible mission. With a repurposed RV they called their mitzvah tank and a map of the vast Australian outback, Solly set out.
We travelled 10,000 kilometres in the 4 weeks in 4 different states. A lot of people stopped just to tell us they were Jewish because of the signs on the tank.
He just remembers the herring we left on the side. So would it?
Yeah, and the woman chasing after us. That's so weird.
And he's the one who gave us petrol.
Exactly.
We stayed there till late. You know, we had to subtly ask him for petrol.
It's like, unless you want us to stay on your property.
At the end of the trip, after really taking it all in, where we'd gone and what we've seen, we realised the importance of connecting to the Jews in rural and regional Australia and the importance of that little visit. Following our visit, I organised many trips by young students, and it was really a passion for many years of mine on I'd say an ad hoc basis. So after my mother died, and I wanted to start an organisation in her name, in her memory. And 25 years ago, Chabad of RARA was formed. "25 years ago, I bought out 2 young rabbis, Yankee Barber from New York and Mendy Booker from LA at the time. We hired a mitzvah tank and sent them on their way for 10 weeks. The first day that we started, there was a story that brought it home to me.
My name is Ben Hoffman. I was 32 years old. I was working as a rural GP in a small town called Nil in Australia between Melbourne and Adelaide. And I wasn't connected to my Jewish roots. Since my bar mitzvah, I wasn't paying much attention to my Judaism. That's where I was when I was in Australia. I was just living my life as a rural general practitioner. So this was a regular day working in the clinic. I went home. It's not unusual to get a call from the hospital to either answer a question or check up on a patient. And then I got a call from the sisters there that there were these unusual people asking about me and should they let them into the hospital, whatever. And I said, I'll be right over there. The last thing I would have ever expected when I got that call and I went to Nil Hospital would have been to see these two boys with jackets and hats and the white shirt. And one of them, I think it was Yankee, said, you know, you're a healer, you're a doctor for the body, and, you know, we're in the business of healing souls. And I never forgot that because I felt like, wow, you're healing my soul right now. It was a powerful encounter. And I do remember at 2 o'clock in the morning feeling like I could have stayed up all night. That meeting led to a change in my life. It was sort of like we're all like these seeds that want to grow. And that was an initial watering and allowed me to, you know, survive in that sort of spiritual desert. And it gave me a feeling of there was something more I had to figure out about my Judaism. That led to the next sort of stage in my coming to Judaism and my Baal Tshuva journey. This point, 25 years later, as a husband, a father of 3 who are learning Torah and growing in Torah mitzvos and caring for a community of Jews here, it's just been a wonderful journey. And I'm thankful for that meeting, which was a true turning point in my life. I haven't seen them since, but I'm very thankful to them. Oh.
Wow.
Yankee.
Is that Ben?
That's...
Yes, yes. Wow.
I'm speechless. That's so cool. I'm so thankful that you came and you visited me. I don't know if you remember coming to Nil and meeting me.
Yes, I remember you were only able to meet late. By the time we finished the meeting, it was really late. I think it was 2
o'clock. You don't always get to say thank you to the people who have impacted your life.
I'm sitting here across from you, and I'm just at a loss for words.
You know, the idea of rescuing people. You can rescue someone like Hatzalah. You know, Hatzalah's here, and they go and they're rescuing people. And what the Shluchim are doing, what Chabad is doing, is they're rescuing Jewish neshamot.
In 2004, we hired our first full-time shluchim, Dovi and Chevy Oliver. And after that, I had some other people running the organization. I had Moshe Lobenstein. We had Chani Purcell. Even had my son Shmuly Spigler. Another person we had was Hannah Weiss. In 2014, we hired Yossi and Malki Rodel.
Well, one of the unique things that we were able to bring as directors of RARA, in addition to the regular sending out to Bahrain, which we continue to do, and having connections with all the 16 scattered communities throughout Australia, We went on the road as a family for extended periods of time. We were able to bring the family unit to rural and regional Australia. Judaism is obviously a very family-orientated religion, and when we would walk into someone's house with the full family, my wife, my kids, we were able to give them the full, well-rounded, authentic Jewish experience, especially with my wonderful wife, Malki's warmth that she brings.
I'm Malki Roddle. I'm the co-director of Hansa Chabad, together with my wonderful husband Yossi and our 4 boys. I think our time as Shluchim to RARA was really unique and different because of the nature of our shluchas. Most of our friends were setting up a Chabad house or joining a established Chabad house, and here we were doing something just so different, which we loved. Being Rabbi and Rebbitzin on the road was a test of figuring out how to bring the best parts of Judaism to someone else's door and present and package it in a way that was very welcoming and very enticing for them. I think that the authenticity of it really spoke to people. There was no airs and graces. You know, we were road tripping. There was us in our little car, and we came as we were with the beauty of Judaism to offer and to share. And I think people really responded to that.
In 2020, we brought in Menachem and Chevy Aaron.
My name is Menachem Aaron, and I've been here with RARA for just about 5 years now. Started together with my wife, Chevy, back in the beginning of 2020, right at the beginning of COVID. We're both from here originally, but we'd been living away in New York for a couple of years. Rabbi Yossi Roddle was moving up to Newcastle, and he was looking for someone to take over the reins to take care of Jewish people in rural and regional Australia. And I thought, we'll give it a go. So we jumped on a plane. We came to Melbourne. We hit the ground running. There was a lot to do.
I remember hitting the road for the first time in February 2020. We were with our 5-month-old daughter, Chaimushka. We were super excited. We traveled all the way up to the Blue Mountains. We rented a big hall and we got catering. I was so excited to meet all the Jews that lived in Blue Mountains and make a huge Purim party for them. And after we set up, we waited and 3 people showed up. Even though only 3 people showed up, it was at that point that it clicked, and we realized that the purpose of RARA is to connect to each individual person.
And within a very short amount of time, within a couple of weeks, COVID really started to settle in. Lockdowns began, we couldn't move around so much. And it was a very interesting way to start our shlichus, to start our mission over here, because everyone knows that RARA is all about traveling. You get in the car and you go and you drive. And here we were, kind of confined to Melbourne. We didn't let that set us back. We got to work.
One of the highlights of Chabad of RARA is Menachem's effort. In fact, he drives me bananas. We have to bring more Bochrim.
Having these rabbis on the road around the year ensures that whenever a person decides, that whenever that light bulb clicks, whenever they have that aha moment and they say, hey, I'm living out here and I need to strengthen my Jewish connection, we can be there for them right away. They don't have to wait 6 months. They don't have to wait a year. Who knows what can happen? So many things can come up. Their inspiration can go away. Life happens, stuff happens. But we now have the ability to get out there and to dispatch a team to wherever these people may be.
Hi, I'm Yaakov Kahanov, and I'm from Crown Heights.
And my name is Benjamin Gardetsky, and I grew up on Shluchas in Paris, France. We are the current young rabbis going around rural and regional Australia in this mitzvah mobile. And we're searching, and we're reaching out to Jews that we know, looking for new Jews, and trying to establish a connection with Jews that may not be part of a community, and bring to them anything Yiddishkeit, Judaism, whether it's laying tefillin, showing them the new RARA Sefer Torah, or giving them candles for Hanukkah, or just having a nice conversation about Judaism with them. Yesterday, we actually met a few people. At the very end of the day, we were able to meet a Jewish family, which has very close connection to us, and really appreciate our visits.
Really, our only connection to the enjoyment of Jewish culture is through RARA.
Be there with the children, and we played dreidel, and we showed them a video about Hanukkah. We taught them how to light the menorah. It was a beautiful, beautiful experience.
And the guys that come are always so excitable and so great with the kids.
Beautiful, wow, Sefer Torah. As we were wrapping up our visit last night,
Bye.
The mother actually told us about another Jewish woman living here with her son, which we did not know about.
She's the only other Jewish person here.
She is not in our database. The mission for today, we're going to start off by trying to locate this woman and her son. And who knows, maybe we'll find her and some more Jews around. You never know what's going to happen.
I've lived all my life in a big Jewish community. We've had everything that we need, Jewish schools, kosher food and all that. But once you venture even a little bit out of town, the things that we take for granted over here are just not there. People are living in very isolated conditions. Even socially, their options are limited. And for sure, when it comes to Judaism and keeping that connection, it's very challenging.
My name is Sharon James. I've been living in Newcastle for 18 years. When we first moved here, I did feel very isolated in a Jewish sense because there wasn't too much of a Jewish community. We did consider where we were going to send our children to school, but just the way it worked out, we had to send them to a Seventh-day Adventist school. And one of the main reasons I was so hesitant about sending them to this Seventh-day Adventist school is that they are very strict on their religious adherence. Church attendance was compulsory every Wednesday morning. When my daughter was about 14 years old, she knew that it had really bothered me that she was forced to attend church. And she came home from school one day and said, "You shouldn't let it bother you so much, Mum, because when all the other kids are praying, I close my eyes and I say the Shema." The reason why she was able to tap into that Jewish side of her was because Chabad of RARA had begun attending synagogue in and reaching out to the Jews in Newcastle. And of course, it was like a beacon of light to me. I was just waiting for some kind of Jewish life to appear. To me, it was like, it was a hallelujah moment.
And that's the bread and butter of what we do. Getting out there, getting to the regional towns, or even the closer towns, wherever it might be, and connecting with people exactly where they are. I'm happy to say that pretty much since Pesach, so that's about 6 or 7 months now, we've had guys on the road nonstop.
Hey Menachem, what's up?
Baruch Hashem, how you going?
Doing great. We actually just visited the mother, Jewish woman that we found out that yesterday she was Jewish.
She's the only other Jewish person here.
Fantastic, fantastic. So you just turned up and that's it?
Yeah, we just turned up. We knocked on the door. And we met him first. We're looking for Jenny. He brought us to her and we sat down in the back and we had a nice conversation. Are you Jewish by any chance?
Not fully Jewish.
I'm saying as in your mom's mom, let's say.
My mum's mum's mum.
So do you know how much percentage that makes you Jewish? 100%. She was very happy to see us, and we figured out he was her son. You related? I just
That's
don't
my
know.
mother.
Oh.
Yeah.
And look, you even look like a rabbi already.
Yeah.
And we had a very, very nice conversation, actually. Has he ever laid tefillin?
No.
We're able to somehow get Alex to do it for the first time. It'll mean the world to us.
No.
Maybe one day we'll put on tefillin, but we left it with the menorah. Just a little demonstration. Night number 1. Every night, till the 8th night, we have all the candles. It was a very successful visit, Baruch Hashem. Beautiful to meet another Jew, every single time.
The best visits are the ones when you just turn up.
Yeah, 100%.
So you haven't found anyone to put on film with yet today in the regional places?
No, unfortunately, we haven't yet.
If you head towards Berrigan, you have the family over there, which we've been trying to get in touch with. It may be worth trying them today.
Well, I sent him a message, can I meet up with you in Cobram, and he never got back to me.
So, I mean, you can call now. We'll give him a call, see what he says.
Okay, I'll try to call him.
The number you have called is not connected.
No message can be left on this server.
Please check the number before calling again.
It's our daily routine.
There's another whole aspect of RARA which people don't talk about, you don't think about it, but that is more than what we give to the people that we visit. It's what the people that we visit give us. Just the genuine commitment and love for Judaism, it's amazing. It's really inspirational. Literally every day I turn to Malki and I'm like, these people are amazing. I wish we would be as involved and as passionate about our Judaism as these people are.
I'm David Schrader. I live in Toowoomba, beautiful garden city of Queensland. I've moved to Toowoomba about 2 years ago. I was born and raised on a little country farm in the northern tablelands of New South Wales called Walker. I'd heard all the stories about my Jewish ancestry, but I didn't put the pieces together. I didn't know I was Jewish because I was brought up a Christian. I went from church to church, seeking whatever it was I was seeking. But consistently, I felt short-changed. I'd ask questions, and I never got the answers that gelled with me. Never. It was my ex-wife that actually was watching a show on SBS, The Outback Rabbi, and I wasn't home at the time. But I got home and she met me at the door and she said, I saw something today you've got to see. And I thought, all right. I found it on the internet, a copy of this very show. And I was listening along, this interesting fellow with his big black hat, Yossi Rodal, Rabbi Yossi Rodal. He was interviewing people in Outback, Australia. He was talking to this lady in a pub. And lo and behold, her story was my story. And all the lights came on. I thought, can this be real? I'm Jewish. I'm Jewish. My great-great-grandmother, my grandmother, my mother, me. I'm Jewish. I didn't know that you inherited your Jewishness through your mother. And so, wow, because I thought that explains so much. That explains why I could never really feel a part of the Christian world. I always felt on the outside. It wasn't hard to make that transition in faith. I thought, I've got to speak to that guy. I've got to talk to that man. And lo and behold, I got straight through to Rabbi Yossi. When I spoke to him and told him my story, and I said, you found me without even looking for me.
I remember getting David's call and the feelings of genuine sense of belonging, sense of this is who I am coming through the phone. And I reacted because this is literally what I live for. This is Judaism. This is amazing. And David, we connected. We really understood each other. And I think we sensed each other's genuine happiness in this journey. And I invited him at a later date to join us at the annual RARA Shabbaton in Melbourne.
I found myself in the Jewish community in Melbourne, and it was amazing. I would have thought that I would have felt like a fish out of water, but it wasn't like that at all. It was like, I already know you people. I know, it's like, yeah, you know me somehow. And so I felt far more at home, or more relaxed, I guess, knowing that it wasn't for any other reason other than, the Jewish faith that I was there.
We had looked forward to this moment of meeting, and the first opportunity we got, I came over right away, we had a big hug, and we celebrated his bar mitzvah. We put on tefillin for the first time. We threw lollies, we danced, he cried, we sang. What an honor to be part of this watershed moment. David, at the age of 61, becoming bar mitzvah, taking his place in the Jewish community, full of passion, full of genuine excitement, and it just automatically spread to everyone around.
One of the things we do to try and reach out to more Jews is we go to a central place in town and we set up shop. We have the sign that says Jewish Mobile Library. Inside our mitzvah tank, we have a full Jewish library of all different kinds of books. And we offer everyone, Jewish and non-Jewish, to come on board and to check out our library. And if they want to buy or borrow a book, they're more than welcome to. And sometimes, you know, we get to meet a new Jew that we didn't know about and establish a connection. It's a beautiful thing.
Hello, Sergio here.
Hi, this is Binyamin from Chabad of RARA again. I was wondering if maybe sometime today would work, because we would really love to meet up with you and your mother.
We're currently still in Albury. By the time we get back, it'll probably be another 3 hours or so.
So if you're down for a meeting, we would love to, if it would work for you.
I don't know yet. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, we might have another 2 Jews waiting for us to meet today.
We actually began the first branch of Chabad of RARA in Cairns.
My name is Ari Rubin. I run the Chabad of RARA base in North Queensland. So when RARA comes to a city, they're able to have a beautiful connection one by one. But that connection is limited to the space. When you're missing the people on a permanent presence there, you're not able to have that constant connection. Once we came into the scene, we were able to turn the 300 contacts that Yossi and Shali had given us when we first touched down into a permanent connection to be able to make a Shabbos meal every week for those people, to be able to make a Hebrew school that they could send their kids to every week, that they could have a Torah shiur in person that they could come to every week, that they could have the Chagim and the classes and the exciting Yom Tov programs that we do every single Yom Tov. We have one person that says he moved up from Sydney and he has more in our community in Cairns than he had in his community in Sydney. Our Chabad has turned the sparks that the RARA Bochrim had been sowing throughout all the years into the giant flame of our permanent presence in the Chabad house in North Queensland.
4 years ago, in the height of COVID, Yossi and Malki Roddle decided they wanted to have their own area to help Jewish people, and they started Chabad of the Hunter, being a branch of Chabad of RARA.
There's such a rich history of Jews in Newcastle. In fact, the synagogue here is one of the oldest in Australia, but it's the resurgence of the Jewish community that is so incredibly heartwarming. You walk into this synagogue, which is obviously quite old, and you hear the singing and you see kids running around, and I get goosebumps just thinking about the people who built this shul. Could they ever have imagined what would be happening in 2024 here in the shul that they had built? And I love that our community not only has this incredible growth today, but we have such deep roots from way back when.
I'm always getting messages, usually via WhatsApp, and I don't know what the thing is with WhatsApp and from people, but that's the way to go apparently. And I'm always getting voice recordings, not text, voice recordings from Rabbi Yossi saying, "Hey Claire, we haven't seen you in ages, please come for Shabbos, it'll just be us," or "Please come for this, come for that." But I know I could pick any Friday night and say to them, "Can I come and see you?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, definitely." There's always a place at their table for me.
2.5 years ago, we brought Oshi and Liba Gutman to run Chabad of the Sunshine Coast.
Among the Jewish population on the Sunshine Coast are many Israeli people. Since October 7th, our Chabad has become a home away from home and a support center for all those people from Israel when they need it most. Whether it's a Shabbat dinner, or a arm around their shoulders, or listening ear, we try to be there for them in any way we possibly can.
Okay, so we're probably just over half an hour away.
Okay, we'll head out now.
See you.
Looking forward.
Around 5 o'clock.
Thank you so much. Looking forward.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, we might get another tefillin today. Not another, just my first tefillin. Okay. Hello, hello, hello. How are you doing? Good, we are doing great. Thank God. I'm Binyamin. Love the flag. Did you ever have a chance to put on tefillin?
every time you guys come.
Oh, beautiful. So is now a good opportunity also?
You have to pronounce, you have to say everything slowly.
Okay, we're going to say the blessing nice and slow as we put it on.
Baruch.
Ata.
Ata.
Vetzi.
Vetzi.
Vanu.
Vanu.
Al.
Al.
Mitz.
Al mitz.
Vat.
Vat.
Tefillin.
Tefillin.
Amen. You see your beautiful child, your beautiful son, putting on the tefillin. We're going to say Shema.
Shema.
Israel.
Israel.
Adonai.
Adonai.
Elo.
Elo.
Heinu.
Eno.
Adonai.
Adonai.
Echad.
Echad.
We have something that usually you only find in a synagogue. But there's a special Jew from Seymour that a few years ago decided that the Jewish community in Sydney and Melbourne have a Torah, but what about the Jewish community in Cobram, in Reagan, or Deniliquin? So we have one, and its only purpose is to go around to Jewish communities and to give the Jews a chance to see the Sefer Torah and to call it theirs. Would you like to hold the Torah, Sergio? So you could give your mother a chance to kiss the Torah. You could bring it over to her and she could kiss the Torah.
You can kiss the Torah.
But I can touch it?
Yes, yes, for sure.
I was worried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And you should have only good health and everything, and you should have a happy Hanukkah.
Thank you.
And you should enjoy many, many more Hanukkahs to come.
Thank you. Was very important.
Thank you very
I don't know if I'm going to see you again, but yeah.
Either me or my friends, or another friend of mine. Finally, after a full day of trying to wrap tefillin with a Jew, we show them the Sefer Torah. Really, really an amazing experience, and the journey continues.
It's so incredible to be able to see Saul's vision coming to life. 9 years ago when I stepped into his office, I didn't even believe how much we could achieve, but he did. He sent Bachrim for decades to be able to come slowly, visit after visit, to be able to expand the reach of the Jewish soul, the spark in every single one of the Jews that lives in North Queensland. And now we're able to take those sparks and make it into a flame.
It's been a fantastic 25 years. So much has been accomplished, but there's so much more to do. And thanks to so many kind people that have brought us to where we are today, a lot of great things have happened. Well, we're looking towards the future. We're looking towards more time on the road, more mitzvahs, and connecting with more people around rural and regional Australia. Australia is a massive country, huge amount of land, but we're gonna bridge that gap, and we're gonna make sure that wherever people are, they can connect and they can be part of the Jewish tribe.
Our motto is no Jew will be left behind. Doesn't matter where they are, what they do, we'll travel there, and that's really what we're all about.
And if I moved somewhere else in rural or regional Australia, I'm sure RARA would come with me. You know, I can be anywhere in Australia. That's the amazing thing. So it's a big country. But wherever you go, I'll come with you. I'll be there for you.
Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu v'hadlik nor shel Shabbat. I've been lighting Shabbat candles every Friday evening ever since I connected with RARA, and I look forward to continuing for another 25 years.
Well, that was fabulous. I could watch that again. In fact, I will. Netflix has bought the rights to that, so you will be able to watch that in your own lounge room in time to come. We are absolutely blessed in so many ways, but one of the great things that's going to happen tonight, and hopefully he is ready as we speak, but we have an international Jewish music sensation in the house. So please make it a great Melbourne welcome for Eitan Katz, please.
Good evening, everybody. I would like to open up with a special niggun that I composed, a special song that I composed. And the words are from the Torah. The words are the words used by the founder of Chabad Hasidus, the Baal Tanya, in his introduction to Tanya. Ki karov elecha hadavar na'od. Thank you so much. So my dear friends, I just wanted to say that this is my first time in Australia. And I want to dedicate the following song. Now I want to just say one quick thing. The power of music is so strong, it has the power to give over a message that words simply can't. And you could say a sentence, but when you sing it, it means so much more. If there's one thing I've learned from the Chabad community abroad, and especially Chabad of RARA, it's that love for every single Jew that they have. It's the only way they could do this work. So the words to this song are in Hebrew and in English. I'll sing it in English first. So everybody just, while you're schmoozing, eating, take a listen to this. The mountains will crumble and the hillsides will fade away, but my love for you will not end. The mountains will crumble and the hillsides will fade away, but my love for you will not end. An everlasting love, I have loved you, for this I have drawn you with my love. An everlasting love, I have loved you, for this I have drawn you with my love. The mountains will crumble and the hillside will fade away, but my love for you will not end. The mountains will crumble and the hillside will fade away, but my love for you will not end. Ve'ahava sohilo ahavti al kei meshachti chasi ve'ahava sohilo ve'ahavti al kei meshachti chased ehar yomushu ve'ageva istemotenu v'chasdi meitei lo yamut. Ehar yomushu ve'ageva istemotenu v'chasdi meitei lo yamut. and the hillside will fade away, but my love for you will not God's word to the Jewish people, but my love for you will not If you know this, sing together with me. Here we go. 1, 2. I did it. I la da la da la 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 da da. I da 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 da. I did it. I da 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 da. I da 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 da. Alex, let's go! Everyone together! Aha, aha, aha. Hey, I did it. Let's hear you guys together. Ay, 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 I'm Israel, I'm Israel, I'm Israel. 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 Ay, oh David, Ay, oh David, Ay, oh David, oh David, oh David, Ay, oh David, Ay, oh David. hear you together. Oh, Am Yisrael.
One, two, one, two. Let's give it up for Eitan Katz. Come on. Can't hear you. Eitan will be coming back. There'll be more singing and dancing towards the end of the evening. So if I can get you to take your seats, we've got more things happening. Eitan will be around for a while, so those of you that want to burn off some calories, he's going to be singing shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats please take your seats. Let's all come and take our seats because I have great pleasure in introducing our new next speaker. And it would be really good because he's come a long way. Let's all come in from the outside area. I'll get our organising committee to bring people in. Ladies and gentlemen, I do beg for your attention. It's always the MC's last resort when he has to shush into the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest speaker has come a long way, and I guarantee you he will have something more important to tell you than what you are currently talking about. I really don't want to invite him up here while everybody's talking. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're talking to the person next to you, ask that person to stop talking. Sorry? Well, I'm going to ask our organising committee to ask all of those people outside to come back into the room. And I would respectfully ask you all to take a seat. I must say I get far better attention at an auction when you want to buy a house. Actually, if I have the choice as to where you're going to be quiet, that would be the place, I suppose. All right, we're heading in the right direction. For those of you that are still standing, please take a seat because Shloime Zionce. Yeah, let's hear a round of applause. And Shloime, let's keep clapping. We have an international guest speaker, and thankfully he is Jewish because he does understand the difficulty we're having to get you to pay him the respect that I think he commands. Those of you that are saying shh, please do it louder. Let's get a whole chorus. That's it. That's one of my best looks, actually. We do that again. I'm going to make that my Tinder profile for those of you that actually know what I just said. And for those of you that know what I just said, I question why you know what I just said. Okay, come on in. Come on in. Wow, tough crowd. Shloime, where are you from, by the way? You live in Texas. Wow. Okay, round of applause for Texas. Who would have thought? Shloime Zionce is a Hasidic Jewish journalist, podcaster and YouTuber, celebrated for his captivating storytelling and cross-cultural travels that bring culture, Jewish culture, and values to life for global audiences. By age 28, he had journeyed to over 40 countries, including Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, I'm looking forward to hearing about that, Iraq, Afghanistan, and Azerbaijan, engaging in meaningful dialogue and fostering understanding across diverse communities. He is born in Brooklyn, but lives in Texas, and he has a bigger and better story than those of you that are still speaking. So please welcome Shloime Zionce.
Good evening, Melbourne. It is so great to be here. I want to thank Chabad of RARA, specifically the Spigler family, for bringing me in. I've only been here a couple hours, but so far it seems like an incredible community, really nice people, beautiful country, and I'm very, very excited. It's my first time in Australia, and I don't want to take much of your time. In fact, I was told that if I speak longer than 30 minutes, a water cannon will wash me off the stage, so I'm going to try to make it quick. Today I would like to tell you about what happens to a Hasidic child who falls through the cracks. So my name is Shloime Zionce, I'm 31 years old, and I was born in Brooklyn, New York, but I grew up in Toronto, Canada, where my father is from. My mother is from Brooklyn. And when I was approximately 3 years old, my parents moved from Brooklyn to Toronto because my father got the job to be in charge of the Chevra Kadisha in Toronto. Mazel tov. And I had a pretty much normal Hasidic childhood, a normal Hasidic upbringing, very sheltered home, no internet, no TV. But as I went into school, I was a pretty good kid. I tried to behave. The problem was, and the problem started when I was in approximately 3rd grade when they started teaching us the Talmud. So for those of you who are not familiar with the Hasidic education system, you start off learning the Torah, Chumash, Rashi, and then they start teaching you Talmud in approximately 3rd grade. And my parents did not know this at the time, but I have something that I was very embarrassed about for many years. Now I talk about it publicly. It's called an abstract learning disability. And for me, the Talmud is an abstract subject. It's very difficult for me to learn and understand it. So, when they started teaching the Talmud in my school, I started tuning out and dreaming about traveling the world. The way the education system that I grew up in works is that as you go along, every year they start adding a little bit more Talmud into the curriculum, and then when you reach 8th grade, the 8th grade, it's pretty much all Talmud. So I was completely tuned out. I wasn't listening to anything my teachers were teaching me, and I was just dreaming about the day that I will travel the world and see all the places I'd wanted to see. Somehow I managed to get out of elementary school, and I got into high school, but things weren't easy for me there because it was all Talmud every day. So eventually I went from high school to high school. My parents sent me to a place in Lakewood, New Jersey, a yeshiva that was supposedly for boys who were like me, who struggled to study, but I wasn't interested. I caused a lot of problems for the yeshiva, and the yeshiva caused a lot of problems for me. And by the age of 18, I was kicked out of yeshiva for the cardinal sin of having a cell phone with talk and text. I did a lot of other things that would have angered the yeshiva, and I don't blame them for throwing me out. They probably did the right thing, but I was lost. I didn't know what to do. I was angry at my community. I was angry at my family. I was angry at my yeshiva, and I was probably a bit angry at God. And I did not have what to do with my life. I would sleep in and just pretty much do nothing. I didn't have any work. I watched a lot of movies and TV shows. And one day I got a disturbing phone call. My great-grandfather who lived in Brooklyn was hit by a car on a Friday morning, and he passed away on the spot. His body was sent to Israel to be buried, and my great-grandmother who lived in Brooklyn with him went to Israel for the burial. She ended up staying there for the rest of her life because she had some children living there in Israel and decided to take care of her. But what was incredible for me as a 17-year-old was that I inherited their house. It was a massive house, 4 stories on 13th Avenue and 53rd Street in Brooklyn, New York. That's just about the Times Square of Borough Park. And nobody wrote the house to me in the will. It's just that I managed to get my hands on a key and I moved in. I made the place my own. I started inviting friends over for parties. I would stay up late at night and drink beer and smoke cigarettes and watch movies. And that was my life. I didn't really have a way to support myself. My parents gave me a little bit of money every week, but I had a pretty miserable existence. And one morning, or should I say afternoon, I was woken by the sound of my phone ringing, and an old friend of mine was on the line. He says, "Shloime, are you by any chance looking for a job?" I said, "Of course." He says, "Listen, my grandfather's opening an electronics store near Borough Park, and they need somebody to come in and work." I said, "Great, I'm available." So I asked him, "What is the position you're offering?" He says, "We need a security guard." I was 18 years old. I was not half the size then as I am now, and they were paying $10 an hour, so I showed up. They handed me a vest that said security, and they essentially told me to racially profile people, and if somebody looks frightening, do not let them into the store. If somebody looks okay, you buzz them in. That's what they told me, and that's what I did. There was a movie playing on the screens in this electronics store, a movie called Despicable Me. I must have watched it 1,000 times. It went over and over and over again. And one of the things that my bosses realized after a couple days was that there was no security problem. because nobody was coming into the store. They had a customer problem. So they decided to give me a promotion. They put me out on the street with a big pile of flyers, and they said, Shloime, you're going to stand out here. Every person that passes by, you're going to try to schlep them into the store, get them in, show them what sales we have, and you're going to get them to buy something. It was December in the year 2011. It was freezing cold on the streets of New York. With my security sweater, I went outside onto those streets with this pile of flyers. Now, can I ask you, by a show of hands, how many of you take flyers from people handing them out on the street? Almost nobody, but you in the corner, that's very kind of you. So let me explain to you what it feels like to be that guy. Turns out that when your job is to hand out these flyers, you feel like your entire self-worth and your entire existence is pegged to how many people take the flyers. And as you can tell, in a room of 466 people, only one person takes those flyers. So I felt like an absolute piece of trash trying to hand them out, and nobody would take them. To make matters worse, there was a food truck on the corner of this street run by Palestinians who were not very kind. They used to curse me every single day. They had knives in the truck, and I would literally stand with my back to the store to make sure that nobody would sneak up behind me and stab me. The few weeks that I stood out in that frigid December of 2011 were some of the worst weeks of my life. I remember feeling terrible that absolutely nobody would take the flyers, but those weeks also helped me understand something. I made an incredible observation. I noticed that if people were walking, let's say they're coming from that side of the street and they're walking to this side of the street, they're going to pass me on the sidewalk. Let's say 5 people are walking. Not 5 people together, just each person on their own. If the first person coming towards me took the flyer from me, everybody behind them would take the flyer. But if the first person coming towards me did not take the flyer, nobody behind them would take the flyer. And at the tender age of 18, based on scientific evidence that I gathered myself, I discovered that us human beings make choices about how we're going to live our lives based on what we see other people doing, and we don't even know why we are making these choices. So I decided that I never, ever wanted to live my life that way, and if there was something that I wanted to do, I would do it. If there was something I didn't want to do, I would not do it, but it would not be based on what everybody else around me was thinking. About a week later, I got a call from my father, and he says, Shloime, you've just turned 18. I'd like you to try and go back to yeshiva. I said, Tati, I'm sorry, but this yeshiva life has caused me nothing but pain and grief and resentment. I don't want to ever step foot in the yeshiva again, and I'm not going to go back. He says, you know what? I want to make you an offer. It might be an offer that you cannot refuse. He says, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to send you to yeshiva in Israel. You have 10 days. You got to try this yeshiva for 10 days. If after 10 days you're still not happy, I will give you a paid ticket anywhere you want in the world. And I thought about it for about 3 seconds, and I said, okay, Tati, let's do it. Now, my plan was not to go to yeshiva. My plan was to tour Israel for 10 days, tell my father I was miserable, and then the world tour would begin. So I booked a ticket to Israel. I flew there, and I ended up staying in this yeshiva for 3 full years. What changed? This yeshiva was a yeshiva that had a woodworking workshop in the basement. They had a karate class. They had musical teachers coming in to teach us how to play musical instruments, how to sing. There was a recording studio in the basement. And by the way, they also taught us some Torah. It was a place where I was finally able to see that I did have a place in Judaism, and maybe my specialty is not to study the Talmud and to teach the Talmud, but I did have a place within this religion, and I once again fell in love with Yiddishkeit. So I ended up staying there for 3 years, and after 3 years, my parents called me and they said, we'd like you to meet a girl. I met the girl. 2 weeks later, we were engaged. I know it sounds like a very short time, but trust me when I say this, and I promise you this is 100% true. I have friends who met their wives, and 15 minutes later, they were engaged. This is a thing that really happens. So for me, dating for 2 weeks, that was a long time. We got married, thank God. We lived in Israel at the time. I was very idealistic. I wanted to live there. But very soon we realized we were going to be broke if we didn't figure out a way to make some money. Now, I decided to reach out to a friend. His name is Jake Turks. He's the senior White House correspondent for Ami magazine in the United States. And this guy got me a job at Ami Magazine, which is the magazine I work for today. And if you'd ask me why I thought I'd be able to write for a magazine having failed high school, I will tell you this. When I was in the 6th grade, I had a teacher named Mr. Robert Pyatt. One day he gave us a creative writing assignment. And at the end of the day, he collected our assignments. He called me to the side and he said, Shloime, I want you to know you are an incredibly gifted writer. And I don't care if you fail math, science, biology, it doesn't matter to me. As long as you keep writing, you're good in my book. So I went ahead and I failed math, science, and biology, and everything else the teacher taught me. I even stopped writing. But one thing I never forgot, that this man believed in me and he told me that I was a good writer, and everything I have today is because of this man. I'd like to tell you, if you have a child or somebody who's young and impressionable in your lives, speak nicely to them. Find something that you see in them that they might not see in themselves and share it with them, because this can literally change lives. So I asked my friend to get me a job at this magazine. They gave me a job doing local stories in Israel. I met a woman named Margalit Zinati, who at that point, almost 10 years ago, was 84 years old. She was living in a town in northern Israel called Pekian. It's a town of Druze people. She was the only Jewish person living there, but her family has been living in Israel continuously for over 2,000 years. They never left. And that was the first interview I did. To make a long story short, they started sending me on international assignments, and my dream was finally coming true. I was traveling all over the world. One day, my editor called me and she said, Shloime, I want you to do something unique, something different. Name a country, tell me a place you want to go where you think the readers would enjoy reading about. And I said, you know what? I'd like to go to Saudi Arabia. She said, okay, let's do it. I did a quick Google search. Turns out that Saudi Arabia has historically been closed off to non-Muslims, and it was not a place that I would be able to visit. I called back my editor. I said, you know what? Saudi Arabia is not going to work, but I have another idea. How about Lebanon? She says, let's do it. I said, okay, let's do it. So living in Israel, it's a little bit complicated to get to Lebanon. Turns out that although Beirut is very close to Jerusalem, there are no open borders, there are no flights, definitely no commercial flights. Occasionally there are flights from the F-16s of the IDF who bomb southern Lebanon, but it's pretty hard to get a ticket on one of those planes, so I was going to have to fly commercial. Now I was afraid that when I would arrive in Lebanon, they would see that I had checked my bags in Tel Aviv, so I ended up booking 2 separate tickets, one flight from Tel Aviv to Turkey, and another flight from Turkey to Beirut. It was an incredible feat. I spent a couple months doing research to try to find Jewish history in Lebanon, and I ended up coming up with a couple of things that I thought would be very interesting to see and witness with my own eyes. I also had to get a new passport because my Israeli visa was in my original passport, and if the Lebanese saw that, it would be a problem. So to make a long story short, the night before my trip, my wife and I are sitting together, and we're going through my suitcase. We're taking out every single item that has any clue that I was Jewish or anything to do with Hebrew lettering, anything that would show them that had anything to do with Israel. We're talking about items of clothing, items of food. I would have to bring kosher food with me, but we decided that this is what we're going to do, and we're hoping for the best. So the next day I fly to Turkey. I spent a couple days there and ended up flying to Lebanon. I remember arriving there, and I was disguised. Now, how does a Jew like me disguise themselves? Well, you take your long payas, you put them in a fedora above your head, you put your yarmulke in your pocket, you tuck your tzitzis into your pants, you say a prayer, and you hope for the best. Oh. Okay, that's me outside Saddam Hussein's palace in Iraq. But that's a story for another time. So I land in Lebanon. I have this brand new passport. No one's supposed to know that I'm Jewish. Nobody's supposed to know that I live in Israel. And I'm terrified. I know that if, God forbid, anything goes wrong, I may never be seen or heard from again. I had a friend in Israel who had my live location on WhatsApp. He was watching my whereabouts. I told him that if anything goes wrong, he has my social security number, my bank account. He's going to call my wife to close everything up for me. And I'm waiting in line. It was a very long line. It took approximately an hour till I got to the immigration desk in Lebanon. But when I arrived there, we had this Lebanese soldier sitting behind the desk. And he says to me, "Sir, is this your first time in Lebanon?" I said, "Yes." He says, "Can I see your passport?" I hand him my passport. My name is Shloime Zionce. If the first 2 names weren't bad enough, it has Zion in it. And the guy takes one look at my passport, one look at my face, and something, I can tell, something clicked in his mind. I was in trouble. He turns behind him, he turns to two soldiers standing in the terminal, and he asks them to approach the desk. He starts talking to them in rapid-fire Arabic, and I know that something bad is about to happen. He hands them my passport. He's pointing at my picture. He's pointing at my face. He's pointing at my name. It's a disaster. After about 2 minutes of this terror, the soldiers hand the passport back to him. He stamps it, and he says, "Welcome to Lebanon." The soldiers walk away. I said, "Thank you very much. Do you mind explaining to me what just happened with the soldiers?" And he says, "Sure. These guys behind me, we were in military academy together, and there was a guy who studied with us who looks exactly like you. So I was wondering if they also thought that he looks like you." I said, "Thank you very much, have a great day," and I ran to get my suitcase. I had a taxi driver waiting for me. I remember going to my hotel overlooking the port of Beirut, which suspiciously blew up 2 years later. I did not do it, although I've been accused of doing it. But I remember getting into my hotel room and taking the couch, lifting it up and pushing it against the door, hoping that if anybody came to get me, I'd have 2 minutes to call my wife to say goodbye. I called the local taxi company and I asked them to send me an English-speaking driver. They sent me Khalid, who spoke absolutely no English, which turned out to be a blessing because had he heard the conversations that I was having over the phone, he probably would have figured out who I was. So Khalid took me to a town called Bahamdoun, which is about an hour north of Beirut. It's a town where Lebanese Jews used to go to vacation in the hot summer months, and there's a beautiful synagogue standing there. I had the location of the synagogue. I had to climb over a fence and through a hole in a wall to get into this abandoned building, but there I found a beautiful building which once upon a time was inhabited by Jews, which had thousands of prayers. So many beautiful simchas took place there. It was completely desolate and abandoned. I prayed there a little bit. I took some photos, and I left. We moved on to the next city called Alai, which had a similar story, a synagogue where people used to vacation in that area. At one point, there were Palestinian terrorists who got into the synagogue and they were hiding there. The IDF actually bombed the synagogue, which is why it has no roof anymore. It's an abandoned building. I tried climbing in through the window, but a neighbor started yelling at me that he was going to call the police. So I abandoned that plan and got back into the car with Khalid. We went back to my hotel. The next morning, I had this idea. I want to visit a town called Sidon or Saida, which is mentioned in the Torah. It is written that the tribe of Zevulun is from Sidon, and there's a 1,000-year-old synagogue. It's 1,000 years old. It's still standing. It was abandoned in 1982 when the Jews left Lebanon. But I wanted to visit this place. I didn't know exactly where it was, but I had more or less a guesstimation of where it might be. Khalid dropped me off outside the old city of Sidon, and I walked inside the old city. It looks kind of like the old city of Jerusalem, narrow alleyways, stone arches, and I managed to find this building. I remember asking somebody where Harat al-Yahud is. Harat al-Yahud means the street of the Jews. It was conveniently renamed to Harat al-Quds, which means the street of Jerusalem in Arabic. And I found this building. I stood outside. I knew that there was a family living inside, a family of Syrian Palestinian refugees, moved in sometime in the 80s. They're still living there, and as a proud Jew from the United States, I knocked on the door. I waited a few minutes. Somebody opened the door. There's a teenage girl standing there, completely covered with a burqa and Islamic clothing. And I said, "Hi, my name is Shloime. I'm here from the United States. And I was wondering if I could come in and see the synagogue." She slammed the door in my face. So naturally, I did what any other person would do, and I knocked again. Once again, she slams the door in my face. I realized that it was going to take a little bit of money, some bakshish, to get inside. Took a couple dollars out of my pocket. I knock on the door for the third and last time. She opens the door, and she walks back into the house, leaving the door open. So I figured this was my invitation to go in. Walked inside the house. I could see a Star of David on the ceiling. They never removed that. The Holy Ark was still there. There were so many Jewish signs there. And to make matters really weird, in the place where the Aron Kodesh was, the Holy Ark once stood, there was now a massive flat-screen TV. And on the TV, a man named Hassan Nasrallah, the terrorist leader of Hezbollah in Lebanon, was giving a speech in Beirut, live streamed directly into the TV, in the Aron Kodesh, in the old synagogue of Sidon. One of the craziest moments of my life. Took a couple of photos there, prayed a little bit, got out. Thankfully, that night I left Lebanon. The article did very well. My boss called me a couple days later. She said, "Shloime, we got to do something crazier. What can you do now?" I said, "You know what? I heard that Saudi Arabia is going to be opening their doors for the first time in modern history. Let me see if I can get a visa." Turns out that the same day that I had this conversation with my boss, a man named Jamal Khashoggi walked into the Saudi Arabian consulate in Istanbul. He was a journalist from Saudi Arabia who had written some things against the Saudi government, and he realized that his life was in danger, so he escaped to Turkey, where he met a woman who he wanted to marry. In order to get a Turkish marriage license, he needed some documents from the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, and he walked in there asking for the documents. They said, "No problem, Mr. Khashoggi. Please come back in a week and we will have everything you need." A week later, he once again walked into the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. His fiancée was sitting in the car outside. What he did not know was that earlier that morning, a 15-man hitman team had flown in from Riyadh on a private jet. And when he walked into the consulate, they took him to a private room, strangled him, cut his body up with a bone saw, and sprinkled the parts of his body all over the city of Istanbul in public garbage cans so that nobody would ever find him. They even hired an actor to dress up in Mr. Khashoggi's clothing to walk outside of the consulate so that he would be captured on local Istanbul security cameras, and it would be on record that he had walked out of the consulate with his own 2 feet. So it was on that day that I applied for a visa to Saudi Arabia. And interestingly enough, when I applied for the visa, there was a questionnaire. So it turns out that there's this new leader in Saudi Arabia. There's the King Salman, and his son, Mohammed bin Salman, who's in his 30s, is now the ruler, essentially. His father doesn't really want to run the country, so he gave power to his son. And the son wants to modernize the country. He wants to open it up to the world. So they decided they're going to do a trial period. For 30 days, they're going to be allowing foreign tourists in for the first time in modern history. And you didn't even have to go to an embassy or consulate to get your visa. You could just apply online. So I went to this website, and there was a questionnaire about who you are, what you do. One of the questions was, what religion do you follow? And there was a box to tick for each religion. So you had Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism. There was no option for Jews. I wasn't sure what to do. According to halacha, you're not allowed to lie about which religion you follow. But then I noticed that on the bottom of the page, there was a small box which said non-Muslim, which I assumed was for atheists and Jews. So I ticked that box, and a few minutes later, my visa was approved. I got an email telling me that I was welcome in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Now, it's one thing to have a visa, it's another thing to be a Jew. Jews have traditionally not been allowed in, and I decided that I didn't want to take any chances. I didn't want to be the next Jamal Khashoggi. So I sent an email to the Saudi government. I said, "Hi guys, my name is Shloime, I'm from the United States. I'd like to visit your country. Is it okay for Jews to visit?" And 3 minutes later, I got an email back from the Saudis saying, "All people of all religions are welcome." I thought, wow, this is incredible. So I sent them another email. I said, well, in my first email, I didn't tell you that I'm an Orthodox Jew, which means that I'm going to have to show up with certain religious artifacts. I know that traditionally, non-Islamic religious artifacts have been banned from Saudi Arabia. Is it okay for me to visit with my religious artifacts? 3 minutes later, an email comes back, and the Saudi government says, all people of all religions are welcome. May your prayers be blessed. With their blessing, I decided to book myself a ticket to Riyadh. Once again, we did the same spiel. My wife and I went through my suitcases to make sure there was no inkling that I was Jewish. Yes, I had an email from the government, but that might not help you when you arrive in the country. I remember getting on the plane to Riyadh, and I was so terrified that I asked the stewardess for a blanket, and I got under the blanket, and the entire flight I was saying Tehillim for 4 hours. Now, as soon as the plane took off, there was an announcement from the pilot. That's me standing outside the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Riyadh. There was an announcement from the pilot, and the first 2 words of this announcement were 2 words I hoped never to hear in my life, certainly not on an airplane. Can anybody guess what those 2 words were? Allahu Akbar. The pilot was making a Muslim tefillas haderech, a traveler's prayer. It was very interesting. I was thinking to myself, in the United States, you say those 2 magic words on a plane, an air marshal will stand up and shoot you in the face. But in Saudi Arabia, this is how every journey starts. I went to the back of the plane, and I found 6 rows of seats removed. This is a prayer area. A stewardess offered me a Quran or a prayer rug. I actually think it's a great idea for El Al flights to start also having a prayer area in the back. It could solve so many crises that there are between religious Jews and secular Jews, when to make a minyan. It's the perfect idea, and I think everybody should implement it on any airline. But I want to talk to you about what happened when I got to Saudi Arabia. So we land there, and I remember getting off the plane. There was no jetway going from the plane to the terminal. We had to get onto a staircase on the tarmac, and I remember being hit by a gust of cold wind, and I was thinking, cold wind? I thought Saudi Arabia was a hot place. And then I realized perhaps there are a lot of things that I don't know about Saudi Arabia that I'm going to have to learn. So it was a sign for me to open my mind and try to connect with the people around me to see what they're all about and see if we can find some common ground. As soon as you get into the airport, there is a checkpoint where they're looking for contraband. What is contraband in Saudi Arabia? Number one, you have alcohol, then you have Jewish items, the Israeli shekel, crosses, anything that's a non-Islamic religious item is illegal. Yes, I have the email, doesn't mean they're going to honor it. So all my bags go through the baggage scanner except for my last bag, which had my talis and tefillin inside. And as soon as that bag went through the scanner, the woman standing behind the baggage scanner says to me, "Sir, what is in this bag?" My heart stopped. This woman is completely covered from head to toe, only with her eyes showing. I remember she had heavy, heavy eye makeup. If you're only going to show one part of your body, you better make it count. So she wants me to open my bag. And I said, "Hi, my name is Shloime. I'm here from the United States. I'm Jewish. And these are my talis and tefillin." She says, "I have no idea what that is." She opens the bag, she takes them out, and she says, "This is a problem. I'm going to have to call my supervisor." My heart stopped again. I could tell that she saw that I was afraid, because all of a sudden I saw her eyes smile. And she said, "Don't worry, everything's going to be okay." So she called her supervisor, who turned out to be an 11-year-old kid. This short, he's looking up at me, I'm looking down at him. He looks at my tefillin, and he says, "This is a problem, I'm going to have to call my supervisor." The next guy who showed up was 7 feet tall, a literal giant, gigantic muscular dude, head shaved bald with a huge goatee, and this is not the kind of guy you want to meet in a dark alley or in an airport in Saudi Arabia for that matter. And he takes one look at my talis and tefillin, he breaks out in a gigantic smile and he says, "Welcome to Saudi Arabia." Thank God I managed to get in there. Later that night I went to a supermarket to look for kosher products. I was going to be there for Shabbos and I wanted to see if there's any food I could find. Turns out, oh wow, well done. Turns out that I found hundreds of kosher products in the supermarket, and I put a video on YouTube called "Shopping for Kosher Food in Saudi Arabia," which has 20,000 views or more, and many people have been helped shopping. Turns out that there's products from the OU and the OK and so many international kosher organizations that you can buy anywhere in the world. One of the things that bothers me about my travels is that often when visiting places that might not have been friendly to Jewish people, I've had to hide. And eventually I kind of become sick of it. I want to walk around openly and proudly as a Jew. And in 2019, somebody told me that one could visit the United Arab Emirates and walk around openly and proudly as a Jew. And I quote, he said, "Nobody will kill you." And I said, "That's incredible. I got to go there." So I booked a ticket to Dubai. I got into the airport. I decided not to hide. I have my payas out, my tzitzis out, my yarmulkes on. And I show up at passport control. People were very nice. They let me right into the country. They gave me a stamp. They welcomed me. I wasn't sure if what I was doing was safe or not, but I figured, you know what, I'm going to try it until I get to my hotel. If I make it to my hotel and I'm still alive, then it's a good sign. I got into my rental car, drove to the hotel. I remember getting to the hotel, and I got to the check-in desk, and there's a woman standing behind the counter. Her name was Lika. She's from Georgia, the country, not the state. And she says, "Welcome to Dubai." I said, "Thank you very much. I'm going to check in." I asked her, "Do you mind? Let me ask you a question. Is it okay for me to walk around Dubai dressed like this?" And she says to me, "I've never seen anybody dressed like this in this city or in this country, but Dubai is a place where people from every nationality come together in peace and harmony, and I'm sure you're going to be fine." I said, "Okay, thank you very much." Got my key, went to my room, and it was morning time. It was time to daven Shachris. So I put on my talis and tefillin. I'm in my room privately davening, and all of a sudden there's a knock at the door. I go to the door and I see it's a hotel employee. I didn't really want to open the door because I was dressed in my talis and tefillin, and I didn't really feel comfortable doing it. But I remembered an experience that I had when I was 18 years old in Egypt on Hanukkah. My friends and I made a Hanukkah party in a hotel room in Egypt, and we lit a bunch of Hanukkah candles. We're making a lot of noise, and eventually the hotel called because they got a noise complaint. They showed up. We didn't open the door. They called the police. We were afraid to open the door, so they called the army. And the next thing you know, they opened the door and they found us with the menorahs, and it was a difficult night. So I decided not to repeat the scene, and I opened the door for this guy in Dubai. He walks into the room. He's holding a platter with cake and strawberries. And he says, can I come in? I want to put down this welcome gift from the hotel. Now, I said, okay, come in. He asks me, sir, do you mind? Can I ask you a question? I said, go ahead. He says, are you by any chance Jewish? I wasn't sure what to say. Then I remembered that I was wearing talis and tefillin, and he knew who I was anyway, so I said, yes, I'm Jewish. He says, wow, that's incredible. I've never met a Jew before. I said, okay, great. I'm happy to be your first Jew. He says, do you mind if I ask you another question? I said, go ahead. He says, can I take a selfie with you? Absolutely. Takes a picture, leaves the room. A minute later, there's another knock at the door. He's back with a friend. The friend also wants a selfie. The next thing you know, every person in that hotel wanted to take a selfie with the Jew in the talis and tefillin, and I discovered how powerful it is when somebody walks around, even in enemy territory, proud of who they are, comfortable in their own skin, not afraid of their heritage. It was an incredible moment for me. I want to share with you two quick stories. Each will take a minute and then I'll be done. A couple years later, I got wind that the United States, Israel, and the United Arab Emirates were about to sign a peace accords called the Abraham Accords, very historic deal brokered by President Trump. And immediately after it happened, I decided to book a flight to Dubai. I wanted to go back to the country where I had that incredible experience, and I wanted to see if anything had changed, how things would be after the Abraham Accords. So when I got to Dubai, I went to my hotel. The next morning, somebody told me about a place called Al Madam. It's a little town about an hour outside of Dubai with 12 little homes. It used to be a town where people lived. For some reason, it was abandoned, and now the desert is reclaiming the homes. The windows have been broken, sand blows in through the windows, they're partially covered in sand, and it's a very cool place to take pictures. So I drove out there on my own in my rental car, dressed proudly as a Jew, and when I got there, my GPS told me to make a left turn onto a road, but when I got to that road, the road actually did not exist. It turned out to be a big field with sand dunes. I was driving a small car. There was no chance my car would have made it over the sand dunes. I realized that I'd made a mistake. I hadn't planned for this properly, and I would have to turn around and head back to Dubai. So I parked my car. I started looking through my phone for the Google Maps app. I wanted to get myself situated and headed back on the route to Dubai. There's nobody around for 50 miles. In the middle of the desert, there's absolutely not a soul in sight. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, a massive white SUV comes flying, comes to a screeching halt next to my car. And a tall and angry-looking Arab man jumps out, runs over to my window and starts banging on the window. I wasn't sure if I should open it. I opened it a crack, and he says, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Hi, my name is Shloime. I'm here from the United States, and I'm looking for this town called Al Madam." He looked like he calmed down, and he said, "Sir, you're in the wrong place. I can help you get there. Please hand me your phone, and I will put the coordinates into your GPS, and you can get to where you need to go." Now, I realized that if I handed him my phone, and this was indeed a bad person, I would be in really big trouble. I didn't feel comfortable handing him the phone. And he saw that, so he said, "You know what, how about this? Why don't I drive you there in my car?" I said, "I don't know about that." So he thinks for a minute and he says, "How about this? Why don't I drive there in my car? You follow me in your car and I'll take you to where you need to go." And that I thought could work because technically speaking, even if he's a bad guy and he wants to do something bad to me, I'm in control of my own car, I can speed away and hopefully he doesn't catch up to me. So this is what we did. I'm about to turn my car back on. He says to me, "But I'm only going to show you on one condition. You come to my house first." And I remember thinking, this guy is either the nicest guy in the world or this is where my story ends. I decided to go with nicest guy in the world. So he gets into his car, I get into mine, I follow him a couple miles. We pull up outside this interesting structure it was a concrete structure with walls, but it had a tent roof. He opens the door, we walk inside. There are 7 Arab men sitting on the floor playing Xbox. They saw the Jew walk in, they jumped over me, all over me, hugging and kissing me, welcoming me to their home. It was a beautiful moment. We sat there for an hour and a half playing card games, smoking hookah and drinking tea. And then I told them Shabbos is coming, I have to get back to Dubai. I ended up going back to Dubai, went back home. A couple weeks later, a friend of mine called me. He said, "Shloime, you have no idea what's happening. Please log on to Twitter." I go on Twitter, I see my account is exploding. What happened? A man named Sheikh Saif bin Zayed, who is the interior minister of the UAE, also a brother of the king or the ruler, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, he found a video that I had recorded about this experience on YouTube and tweeted it out to his 2.4 million followers. I had become a celebrity in the United Arab Emirates. A week later, I was in Iraq, and I got stuck in Iraq, and I ended up getting out of Iraq, and I landed in Dubai, and I came down the same staircase to the tarmac. And you know that guy with the lightsabers who directs the plane? He sees me get off the staircase, and he says, "Shlomi?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "I just read your story in the news." And then I go inside the airport, and the guy behind passport control says, "Shlomi?" And I said, "Yes." He says, "I read about it too." It was an incredible experience. So many nice people. I want to share with you one more story, and then I'm going to end. So a couple years ago, Pesach, I believe it was 2021 or 2021, I was hired to speak at a Pesach hotel in Dubai. And we showed up early, my wife and my kids, we showed up we actually went for like 3 weeks before Pesach. We wanted to explore the country from top to bottom. And the Shabbos before Pesach, Shabbos HaGadol, we're sitting in a hotel with 300 other Jews at Chabad of Dubai, and a man walks in with his grandchildren, an older man. He's wearing a baseball cap. His grandchildren are wearing baseball caps, and they come over to me. Apparently, they watch my videos on YouTube, and they wanted to say hi. I don't know where I got the chutzpah to say this, but I looked at the older man and I said, "Sir, I must say I'm disappointed in you." And he says, "What are you talking about?" I said, "You're in a country with 200 different nationalities. You're in a country where people from every corner of the globe converge. People from all over the world are here, and because you're uncomfortable with your Judaism and because you're afraid of how you might look in the eyes of people who are different than you, you're wearing this baseball cap to hide your yarmulke." And I felt really bad because his grandchildren were there. I probably embarrassed him. All night I couldn't sleep. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm such a mechutzaf, I shouldn't have said that. The next morning, the man walks into shul with his grandchildren, walks right up to me, says, "Shlomi, I want you to know something. I thought about what you said last night. We didn't show up with our baseball caps today. We're going to be proud of who we are." Unfortunately, a couple days ago, or now approximately 2 weeks ago, there was a terrible tragedy in Dubai. A man who I knew personally, Rabbi Tzvi Kogan, was murdered. And last week, I actually made a quick surprise visit to the United Arab Emirates to meet with the local Jewish community to try to encourage them and inspire them to continue on their path. And B'ezras Hashem, they will continue. And now we see that even here in Melbourne, unfortunately, we've been hit with a terror attack. Adas Yisrael was firebombed and burned. And the response to this can go either way. There's a good chance that a lot of people will say, you know, it's not safe to be a Jew. We have to hide who we are. We have to be careful. We want to make sure that nobody is going to get antagonized by our Jewish pride. And that's one way to look at it. Or we can ignore that and say, you know what? They want to make us go into hiding. They want to scare us. The whole point of terror is to make you want to hide who you are and to be afraid of your own existence. So either we can hide or we can be proud of who we are and we can make them hide. I say we do the latter, not the former. Very quickly, guys, if you don't mind. This is my first time in Australia. I'm very excited to be here. And I would like to have you all, I want to give you a cameo appearance in my video that I'm making for YouTube about Australia. So how about this? On the count of 3, I want everybody to yell, Am Yisrael Chai. Can we do this? Yes. 1, 2, 3. Yes! Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you, Melbourne. Thank you, Chabad of RARA. Let's always be loud and proud.
Wow, every now and then you get the opportunity to be in the presence of somebody with incredible stories. So a round of applause for Shloime, who I could listen to all night. Unfortunately, we do need to move things along. The band will be playing shortly. Before we get to that, though, we do need to just deal with one wonderful matter, which is to lean into the center of your tables. You will find a card. If everybody know, the people that are walking out, you're losing the best moments. There is a card on the table. Could you all take that card that is in the center of the table? There are also pens. We do need to raise money for this incredible organisation because wonderful things like RARA are such valuable assets to our community, and we do need to raise funds for RARA. So you've got choices. 108, 180, 360, 770, 1800, 5400 or more, or of course, anything that you can afford. I think that just to give you some guidance, you do need to push yourself as hard as you possibly can, because ultimately our community is only going to be looked after by our community. So please dig deep, try to fill out the card with the largest possible number that you can afford, because we cannot do this without you. So take a moment, think about what you're going to give. I can tell you that if it's any inspiration for you at all, I grew up without tefillin, so there were 5 members in my family, so it's only fitting that I at least buy 5 tefillin. So I will be putting on that on the Gary Peer and Associates account, so just in case you're wondering where the money comes from. But please, dig deep. I can tell you very clearly that when the Royal Children's Hospital has an appeal, people from all over Australia, regardless of their nationality, their religion, they all give to the Royal Children's Hospital. When a Jewish organisation has a fundraising, it is only Jews that give to Jewish causes. So it is incumbent upon us all to give as much as we can, because it is only us that will support us. Having said that, I'll tell you a lovely story. I was driving home this evening to get ready for tonight, and I live in a street where there's not many Jews, and I live next door to a lovely couple that we say politely hello to. And he rang me this evening. Richard is his name. You could not get more non-Jewish than Richard. And Richard rang me and he said, "Philip, I believe you and your wife are Jewish." And I kind of held my breath. And he said, "I'd just like to say to you and Irene on behalf of Marie and I that we are terribly sorry for what's going on in Australia with regards to the Jewish community and anti-Semitism." I thanked Richard very much for his telephone call, and as I hung up, I thought, maybe I should ring Richard back and just see whether he's prepared to put his money where his mouth is. But I didn't, but I again say to you, understand this, as Jews, it is only us that will support us. So please give until it hurts. Thank you. How are we all going with the donations? Because I'm very happy to say that if you need a quick valuation on your home to work out what equity you have left over, I'm more than happy to come round your table. Anybody need some help with that? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, again, we are so lucky to have Eitan Katz in the house. who is strapping up his guitar as we speak. He will be playing into the early hours of the morning. So get some whiskey, get ready, because he is just tuning up. So I'll make some small talk about the value of your home has gone up dramatically, so you will have more equity to be able to give to RARA and multiple other Jewish causes. I take this opportunity also to thank Mo Phillips, where's Mo Phillips? Where are you, Mo? Round of applause for Mo, who's worked so hard, as has the organising committee. So congratulations, these nights take a huge amount of effort. So to all of those involved, I would like to say thank you. So please welcome Eitan Katz back to the stage. Thank you, and have a fabulous evening.
Everyone together, let's go! Together with me. Diddy die, 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 die. Die, 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 Listen, you guys, I want to hear you. Sing with me, everybody. Oy, ani avdecha. together. As loud as you can. Let's go. Da, 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 la, da, 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 da. One more time. Let's go. Rabbeinu. For the last dance, to end off the night strong, I want you to find someone that's sitting down and pretend that instead of putting filling on them, you're going to dance with them. With that same geschmack. You guys ready? Let's go! Hey! Chabad of RARA! Hey! One, two, three, hey!
לשנה הבאה, לשנה הבאה, לשנה הבאה בירושלים, לשנה הבאה, לשנה הבאה, לשנה הבאה בירושלים, לשנה הבאה בירושלים, אבנו, לשנה הבאה בירושלים, הבנויה, לשנה הבאה בירושלים, הבנויה, לשנה הבאה בירושלים, הבנויה. Everyone together, לשנה הבאה. היי לשנה הבאה בירושלים, הבנויה. היי לשנה הבאה בירושלים, הבנויה. לשנה הבאה בירושלים, הבנויה. היי לשנה הבאה בירושלים, בירושלים, בירושלים,
Thank you so much. Shana Abba Yerushalayim Habnuya, everybody. Thank you.